So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. iPhone Pro or the Pro Max, which size regret is worse? Meaning, if you buy one of these or you have already bought one, which tends to lead to more regret over time? That's what I want to talk about in the sole focus of this video. Now, I'm going to tell you right off the gate, I got many different scenarios as somebody who has been constantly switching between these two, having regrets between each. Now, the first one is daily use portability. I always regret the Max, and I constantly think about it. Even though I do have the ability to switch, I'll tell you why I stayed on the Max this year mostly, but I still think about it. You know, yesterday I was in bed and I was trying to do something on the phone, and it almost fell on my face. So the size of the Max, you definitely and if you had that experience, let me know. That is the worst, when it just falls on your chest, falls on your face. You're like, dang, that phone is heavy. You don't even think about it when you're holding it. I mean, it's not that heavy to hold, but man, when it hits you in the face, bro, you know what I'm talking about. You feel it. But anyway, I was just thinking about the daily use portability. And for that reason, the iPhone Pro is the winner. I mean, you're gonna regret this size. If you like portability, one-handed daily use, you're just going to miss the Pro size. And if you're still in a return period and that's been bugging you, I would probably consider going to the Pro. Now, the next one I'm actually going to give to the Max, because something I regret about the Max when I'm on this one is daily use media consumption. So if I'm reading news or I'm watching videos or whatever, this I feel like I got to do more scrolling on, even though probably technically don't have to do too much. It just feels more cramped, a little bit more small. And it just doesn't feel like a phone that I want to consume a lot of content on. That's a good thing if you're trying to be minimalist. And a lot of people are trying to cut back for New Year's resolutions on too much phone use, way too much content consumption and stuff like that. But the scrolling just seems like I'm doing more on here. And it just feels like on the Max, I don't have to do quite as much scrolling, quite as much. I could just see more on screen. It's kind of akin to getting a smaller iPad or a larger iPad. You know, with the larger iPad, you're getting closer to a laptop experience. But on this phone, I just feel like there's a lot more to see, and I could just kind of zone in on what I'm consuming. So content consumption, I tend to miss the Max pretty much every time I use the smaller Pro. But if you're trying to cut back on your content consumption or your, phone usage, I still would say the Pro is going to be the one to go for. Now, daily use typing, I will say that the Pro is the one I tend to regret a little bit more, just because the keyboard is smaller and my thumbs do bump into each other a little bit more. So I'm a little bit slower on this phone two-handed, but one-handed, I'm definitely ahead. This is a great one-handed experience. So again, with the portability, the keyboard is going to win there on the Pro, but I think you're going to have more regret of not getting the Max if you do a lot of heavy use typing. Hold on, I got the Max out of frame because I'm trying to open up my notes here. But you're gonna miss this keyboard here if you do a lot of typing on your phone. So definitely gonna miss this. And of course, you do have the move the keyboard over feature. So if you do need to get the one-handed on, the Max is still just fine in that respect. But I tend to just feel man, bro, I need my bigger keyboard when I'm pounding out, stuff on the phone. If you're not doing a lot on the phone, you're mostly moving up to a tablet or maybe a laptop, then it's going to be fine. Not a real big issue for you. Now, daily use calling, I tend to regret having the Max, mostly because it's just a heavy phone to put up to your face. So if you are using this for phone calls, I don't tend to use the Max for phone calls ever to my face. So that's why I'm able to get by with it. But with this one, I actually use the phone to my face a little bit more. This one, I always revert to AirPods just because it's too heavy. I mean, it's not technically too heavy, but it just feels huge on the face. So I tend to like the Pro as an actual phone. But when it comes to things like, speakerphone, I could just kind of go over to the Max for that. Now, when it comes to the camera daily usage, I tend to feel like the one I want to go with is the Pro. The Pro just has this very point and shoot type feel. You see, I picked it up with my left hand. I'm actually right hand dominant. So bringing this up with the left hand was easy. I was able to wrap this finger around, get to the camera control. And the whole experience, just one-handed, feels a lot more like a smaller point and shoot camera. It's a little bit more private than the larger phone, as they could see your framing. But I tend to feel like the iPhone Pro Max is going to be the one to go with. if you guys do want a super large frame. So I would say for things like setting up on a tripod, video creation, probably the Max here. But if you're just straight up looking for the camera, the size you're probably going to regret on the Max, because that phone tends to feel like a little bit more cumbersome when using camera just for daily photography. So that's how I would look at it there. Again, tripod, video creation, video editing, Max, daily camera, most people, iPhone Pro is going to be the better option. And when it comes to daily use, like using applications, you are more likely to enjoy the iPhone Pro, I feel like. And the reason why is because iOS doesn't really take advantage of having that large screen. So why not have the more comfy one-handed experience? And every app is still designed about the same, whether you're on the smaller phone or the larger phone. So opening up applications, games, anything, it's kind of the same design. So you might as well enjoy a comfortable, nice experience here on a smaller, albeit not small, but comfortable size with having the same exact layout. You don't really, you can turn messages or whatever in landscape, but there's no proper true landscape mode on the iPhone, 17 Pro Max, like full, like turn the home screen on its side or, full split screens, nothing like that. So I think daily application use is actually better on the iPhone 17 Pro. But again, there is one area where the heft makes a lot of sense, and that's the battery. And it's the reason I talked about in the beginning of the video, why I tend to still use this. It's the battery. It just lasts and lasts and lasts. And I tend to be a little bit more of a heavy user, clearly. So definitely heavy users, this is going to be the move all day. Media consumers, people who like to watch a lot of YouTube videos, Netflix, Prime Video, Hulu, any of these streaming services, if you do a lot of that stuff, or even you're just going through your photos and watch a lot of homemade videos or whatever you do, any media type consumption, the iPhone Pro Max is the move here for you. You definitely will notice that difference when doing something like that. But I feel like a lot of people are kind of headed towards more of a trying to cut back on their phone use, and smaller phones do that a little bit better, I think, in 2026 here. Now, the one thing I want to talk about is a specific use case, like in bed or like sofa lounging, sitting at a table, kickstand, phone, lunch, stuff like that. Which one is going to be more, is going to be better? And I think that, well, we'll start with the bed and the sofa, the couch, if you want to call it, or, lounging around. We'll talk about that first. And that one, you're probably going to miss the Pro. The Max is just cumbersome in this scenario. Like I said, it fell on my face the other day. The phone can actually fall on your chest if you're holding it up like this and it slips. Also, at the same time, on a couch is definitely a little bit different. With that, you can probably prop yourself up a little bit better. But when it comes to like lunch use, like, sitting down, eating lunch, I would actually say the Max is better, because the Max will allow you to prop on a kickstand. If you get a kickstand case, you have a nice media consumption when eating lunch or whatever, if you do that. And I'm talking about like solo, like if you're eating lunch solo, like if you're eating with people, probably don't do that. But you get what I'm saying. You've seen people prop a phone up, have a quick lunch, get back to what they're doing. That's going to be probably better on the Max. But at the end of the day, I think overall they're kind of close to about the same. So, but I think the Max probably has slightly more regrets when it comes to size, which is the focus of this video. But I think the battery and it's mostly the battery. I think it outweighs it for people. Also, a lot of people tend to feel that the bigger is always the better. That's just, even if you disagree with it, it's in people's brain. Like they think this. They think bigger is better. You see it in the SUV market. You see it here in this market. You see it in watches. You see it everywhere. Houses. I don't care what it is. There's just this thing where, oh, bigger is better. I don't tend to feel that way. I'm only using this mostly because I need that longer battery currently in my current chapter of life. But certain people tend to still feel that way either way. So, both of them are pretty close though. Really just size regret, you'll probably miss the Pro more, but battery life and thing, you'll probably miss the Max more. So that's how I feel about these two, the size after these several months later. I keep thinking about those two things. Battery has won me over this time around, but let me know your thoughts. Which one is winning you over this time around? Down below in the comments. Thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already. Nick here. Be sure to be well. I'll catch you on the next episode, and peace.